All right, we've come to the middle of Ecclesiastes. We're here in Ecclesiastes chapter 7. And I want to begin by giving you a little test here. Just a true and false. 6 simple statements, true or false. I like laughter better than crying. I like weddings better than funerals. I like thinking of my birthday better than my dying day. I like compliments better than criticisms. I like shortcuts better than the long way around. I like the good old days better than the way things are now. Well, if you mark true to any of those statements, Solomon would flunk you, because those were all not true statements, but false statements. In Ecclesiastes chapter 7, wisdom can make 3 positive contributions to our lives. In verses 1 through 10, Solomon tells us that wisdom can make life better. And so he makes some of those interesting statements. Sorrow is better than laughter. Rebuke is better than praise. The long haul is better than the shortcut. Today is better than yesterday. So Solomon is giving us a little different perspective on life. He's not saying that we are not to enjoy life, but sometimes we have to see the lessons that we learn in sorrow, or when we have a rebuke, or when we think about the long haul, or when we think about living life today and not thinking about the good old days. So wisdom can make life better. But number 2, he tells us that wisdom can help us to see life clearly. And this is chapter 7, verses 11 through 18. And he talks about wealth in verses 11 and 12. He talks about God's providence in verse 13. He will discuss adversity and prosperity there in verse 14. And then he will talk about righteousness and sin in verses 15 through 18. And so wisdom helps us to see life clearly when it comes to our wealth, when it comes to God working in our lives in a providential way, when it comes to adversity or prosperity, and then certainly when it comes to the principles of righteousness and sin. So wisdom helps us to see life clearly. But the final section in verses 19 through 29, wisdom helps us face life stronger. What are some of the problems we face and need to overcome? Well, certainly one of the first ones we need to overcome is sin. And so he discusses that in verse 20 of chapter 7. Another one is what people say about us. Now, sometimes that can be a challenge for every one of us, when people maybe say some negative things about us. But Solomon gives us some ideas there in verses 21 and 22 as to how to handle that. And then what about our inability to grasp the meaning of all that God is doing in this world? There's a lot going on in our world right now. I think we all would agree, with that. And sometimes we are not able to fully grasp the meaning of all that God is doing. But we believe very firmly and very strongly that God is on His throne, that God is in control. And that is one important thing for all of us to keep in mind, especially as we think about the events that are going on right now in our world. And then finally, in verses 26 through 29, he talks about the sinfulness of humanity in general. And so wisdom can make 3 positive contributions to our lives. It can make our life better, it can help us to see life clearly, and it can help us to face life stronger. Ecclesiastes chapter 7.